Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. Like this video and subscribe the channel for more HFY stories. The plasma cannons were firing at approximately 700 rounds per minute when Mira Oswald checked her watch and swore under her breath. She was going to miss Professor Hartley's lecture on quantum mechanics. Again. Around her, the city of New Portland dissolved into absolute pandemonium. People screamed. Cars exploded into towers of flame. The Valkyr Empire's warships hovered overhead like mechanical vultures, their undersides glowing with the sickly green light of charging weapons. Standard Tuesday morning invasion stuff, really. Nothing Mira hadn't seen twice before this semester. She ducked as a beam of superheated energy vaporized the coffee shop she just walked past, sending brick and mortar raining down onto the sidewalk. Her backpack, stuffed with textbooks and last night's half-finished physics homework, bounced against her spine. Attention, primitive life forms. The voice boomed from every speaker in the city, crackling with static and what could only be described as aggressive condescension. This is Commander Threx of the Valkyr Third Fleet. You will surrender your planet immediately, or face total annihilation. Mira pulled out her phone. 3 missed calls from her roommate, 2 from her mom, and 17 news alerts about the invasion. Nothing from the university about cancelled classes. Typical. She broke into a jog, weaving between panicking civilians and overturned vehicles. The lecture hall was only 6 blocks away. If she could just make it past the burning shopping district and the crater that used to be Central Park, she might only be 15 minutes late. A family ran past her, the father carrying a screaming toddler while the mother frantically dialed emergency services. Mira felt a pang of something that might have been guilt or concern, but honestly, the authorities had this handled. Probably. The National Guard had already deployed during the last invasion 3 months ago. They'd saved the city with like 40 minutes to spare. Besides, she was on her 3rd absence. One more and Professor Hartley would drop her from the class entirely. The ground shook as something massive landed in the intersection ahead. Mira skidded to a halt, her sneakers squeaking against the pavement. The battle mech stood 3 stories tall, all gleaming chrome and pulsing energy cores. Its optical sensors swiveled toward her with a mechanical whir that sounded almost curious. Human detected, it announced in a voice like grinding metal. Scanning for threat level. Mira glanced at her watch again. 12 minutes until class started. Yeah, hi, super threatening, very scared, can you just move? She gestured vaguely to her left. I need to get through. The mech sensors blinked. Once. Twice. Somewhere in its programming, algorithms struggled to process this response. You will flee in terror, it commanded, though there was uncertainty in its synthetic voice. You will scream and run. This is protocol. Look, buddy, I've got a midterm next week, and I really cannot afford to miss this lecture. Mira pulled out her phone and quickly typed a message to her study group. So either vaporize me right now, or let me pass. I don't have time for the whole theatrical intimidation thing. The mech stood there, frozen in what appeared to be mechanical confusion. From somewhere above, Commander Threx's voice crackled again. All units, maximize terror. We must break their spirit. The mech's weapon systems hummed to life, energy building in its cannon arrays. Mira sighed, adjusted her backpack, and simply walked around it. The machine tracked her movement but didn't fire. Its programming apparently hadn't accounted for someone who just ignored it. She heard it call after her, sounding almost plaintive. Wait. You are supposed to be afraid. Add it to my list of things I'll worry about later. Mira shouted back. 2 blocks down, she encountered an actual ground battalion. Valkyr soldiers in their distinctive purple armor had set up a perimeter, their rifles trained on a huddled group of civilians trapped behind an overturned bus. The air smelled like ozone and burning rubber. Surrender your world, one of the soldiers barked, his voice filtered through his helmet speakers. Accept the superiority of the Valkyr Empire. An elderly man in the group raised a shaking fist. Never. Earth will never surrender. The soldier seemed pleased by this response. Excellent. Defiance. This will make your subjugation more satisfying. Mira walked right through the middle of their standoff, muttering apologies as she went. The soldiers watched her pass with what could only be described as bafflement. Excuse me, human female, one called out. Are you not concerned about the invasion? Very concerned, Mira replied without stopping. Also very concerned about failing quantum mechanics. It's a whole thing. She could hear them conferring in rapid clicks and whistles, their native language leaking through their translators. The gist seemed to be confusion about whether this was some kind of advanced psychological warfare tactic. The university campus, when she finally reached it, was somehow even more surreal. Half the buildings were on fire, sure, but students still wandered between classes like nothing was happening. Someone had set up a food truck near the library, selling overpriced sandwiches to people filming the warships on their phones. Earth had been invaded 7 times in the past 2 years. People adapted. Mira sprinted across the quad, dodging a squad of soldiers who were trying to plant their flag on the science building. They looked dejected when nobody stopped to acknowledge them. The lecture hall doors loomed ahead. She was 5 minutes late. Not great, but survivable. She burst through the entrance, panting, just as Professor Hartley was writing equations on the whiteboard. The older woman turned, her expression severe behind wire-rimmed glasses. Miss Oswald. How gracious of you to join us. Sorry, Professor. Invasion. I'm aware. Professor Hartley gestured to the windows, where a warship drifted past like a malevolent cloud. That doesn't excuse tardiness. Take your seat. Mira slumped into a chair near the back, pulling out her notebook. Around her, other students were already furiously scribbling notes. Jake Martinez, sitting to her left, slid a piece of paper toward her with the notes she'd missed. She mouthed a thank you. The lecture continued. Professor Hartley droned on about wave functions and probability distributions while outside, the Valkyr Empire attempted to conquer the planet. The cognitive dissonance was almost beautiful. Then the wall exploded. Not metaphorically. The actual wall, the one with all the periodic table posters, simply ceased to exist in a shower of debris and smoke. Students screamed. Someone's laptop flew across the room. Professor Hartley's coffee mug shattered on the floor. Through the hole stepped Commander Threx himself. The Valkyr commander was impressive, Mira had to admit. Nearly 7 feet tall, covered in gleaming armor that seemed to absorb light. His face was angular, almost reptilian, with 4 eyes that glowed like amber coals. Energy crackled around his gauntlet fists. Humans. His voice shook the remaining windows. I am Commander Threx. Kneel before the might of the Valkyr Empire. The class stared at him. Professor Hartley adjusted her glasses. Young man, we are in the middle of a lecture. Threx's eyes widened. All 4 of them. Did you not hear me? I am Commander Threx. Conqueror of 17 worlds. Destroyer of the Kelvin resistance. The very mention of my name causes lesser species to weep. That's fascinating, Professor Hartley said dryly. But unless you're here to discuss quantum entanglement, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The commander looked around the room, clearly expecting a different reaction. Students were already pulling out their phones to film him. Jake was trying to retrieve his laptop from under a pile of rubble. Someone in the front row actually raised their hand to ask a question about the homework. Are you not terrified? Threx demanded, and there was genuine confusion in his voice now. Your city burns. Your defenses crumble. We have superior technology, superior numbers, superior everything. Mira raised her hand. Question. Threx pointed at her, perhaps grateful that someone was engaging. Yes. Ask your question, trembling human. If you're so superior, why do you keep losing? The room went very quiet. Threx's mandibles clicked together in what might have been anger or embarrassment. We do not lose. We are Valkyr. We are eternal. We are. You lost to us 7 months ago, interrupted Marcus Webb from the third row, not looking up from his phone. And again in March. And that time in November was just sad, honestly. Your flagship got taken down by a National Guard helicopter. That was a tactical retreat. Threx roared. You retreated into a lake, added Jenny Kim helpfully. We saw it on the news. The commander's armor began to glow brighter, energy building around him. His voice dropped to something dangerous and low. Mock me if you wish. But this time will be different. This time, we have brought our full might. This time, Earth will fall. Professor Hartley sighed and set down her chalk. Mr. Threx, was it? I'm going to be honest with you. We've had 4 invasions just this semester. The Krell Dominion tried in September. The Zathros Collective tried in October. Something called the Eternal Swarm tried last month, though they were mostly just annoying. And you know what happened to all of them? Threx said nothing. They failed, Professor Hartley continued, her voice hard. Because they all made the same mistake you're making right now. They assumed that because we don't have your fancy ships or your powerful weapons, we'd be easy to conquer. They underestimated us. We have plasma cannons. Threx protested, and he sounded almost desperate now. Fusion bombs. Reality warping technology. What do you have? Mira stood up. Around her, other students were standing too. The air in the room changed, charging with something that made Threx take an involuntary step backward. We have spite, Mira said simply. And really, really good aim. The lights went out. For exactly 3 seconds, the room plunged into darkness. Then emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Threx laughed, the sound echoing through his helmet. You see. We have already disabled your power grid. Your infrastructure crumbles. Surrender now, and we may show mercy. Professor Hartley checked her watch. That's not us losing power. That's the failsafe activating. What failsafe? The professor smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. The one we installed after the 3rd invasion. See, we got tired of having our classes interrupted. So we made some arrangements. The ground began to shake. Not from weapons fire or explosions, but from something else. Something bigger. Threx's armor sensors began beeping frantically. He touched the side of his helmet, listening to reports from his fleet. His expression shifted from confusion to concern to outright alarm. That's impossible, he whispered. Is it? Professor Hartley gathered her papers calmly. Class dismissed, everyone. We'll pick up with Chapter 7 on Thursday. Miss Oswald, please see me after the invasion is repelled. Students filed out past the stunned alien commander, chatting about weekend plans and complaining about the reading assignment. Mira grabbed her backpack, stepping carefully over chunks of wall. Threx grabbed her arm as she passed, his grip gentle despite his obvious distress. What have you done? My ships. They're all shutting down. Every single one. How? Mira looked at his hand on her arm, then up at his face. You really want to know? He nodded mutely. She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. We got tired of being invaded. So we stopped playing defense. She pulled away, shouldering her backpack. Welcome to Earth, Commander. We hope you enjoy your very brief stay. Outside, the warships were falling from the sky. Commander Threx ran. It was undignified. It was cowardly. It was absolutely necessary. Behind him, The lecture hall exploded into chaos as the building's automated defense systems came online. Turrets emerged from the ceiling, tracking his movement with mechanical precision. Students scattered, laughing and recording everything on their phones like this was some kind of entertainment. These humans were insane. Threx burst through the hole he'd made in the wall, his armor sensors screaming warnings at him. His fleet, his beautiful fleet, was literally dropping from the sky like dead insects. Ships that had conquered entire star systems were simply turning off. Engines failing. Weapons systems going dark. Life support shutting down. All according to some protocol these primitives had apparently installed in Earth's atmosphere itself. All units retreat, he screamed into his communicator. Full retreat. Emergency extraction. The response was static and panic. His soldiers were scattered across the city, trapped behind enemy lines that hadn't existed 10 minutes ago. The humans weren't even using conventional weapons. They were using traffic lights that shot lasers. Fire hydrants that deployed nets. One of his lieutenants reported being chased by an automated street sweeper that had somehow gained sentience and aggression. Mira Oswald jogged after him at a leisurely pace, still checking her phone. You should probably run faster. The building's auto-defense grid has a really aggressive pursuit protocol. A beam of crimson energy sliced past Threx's head, vaporizing a tree. He dove behind a statue of some long-dead human scientist, his heart's pounding in 3 different rhythms. Why? He shouted at her. Why are you like this? She actually had to think about it. Honestly? We just got annoyed. Like, really, deeply annoyed. Do you know how hard it is to maintain a decent GPA when your campus keeps getting blown up? Another blast destroyed the statue. Threx rolled, came up running, and sprinted toward where his command shuttle was supposed to be waiting. Supposed to be. Past tense. Because when he reached the landing zone, he found his shuttle in pieces, surrounded by what appeared to be a group of human children holding modified sporting equipment. We got another one, a boy no older than 12 shouted, pumping his fist. He held a baseball bat that crackled with electricity. That's 7 points for the home team. His friend, a girl with braces and a modified lacrosse stick, grinned. Mom's gonna be so proud. I told her joining the Youth Defense League would look good on college applications. Threx stared at them. You are children. And you're an invader, the boy replied cheerfully. Want to see what my bat does on the highest setting? The commander did not want to see that. He turned and ran in a different direction, his tactical computer desperately searching for any extraction point that hadn't been compromised. 0 results. His entire invasion force was being systematically dismantled by a population that seemed more irritated than terrified. He rounded a corner and nearly collided with an elderly human woman walking a small, fluffy dog. She didn't even flinch. Excuse me, young man, she said primly. You're blocking the sidewalk. I am a conqueror of worlds. Threx gasped, his translator struggling with his rapid breathing. That's nice, dear. But Mr. Whiskers needs his constitutional, invasion or no invasion. She gestured with the leash. Move along. The dog, Mr. Whiskers apparently, growled at him. Its eyes glowed with what Threx's scanner identified as trace amounts of radiation. Even the pets on this planet were hostile. He stumbled backward, then continued his retreat through streets that had transformed from battlefield to bizarre nightmare. A food delivery robot rolled past, ignoring the smoking craters and collapsed buildings, cheerfully announcing it had pad thai for apartment 3B. A jogger ran by, earbuds in, completely unconcerned about the alien soldier scrambling for his life. Threx's communicator crackled. Commander. This is Lieutenant Vex. We've been captured by local enforcement. Fight your way out. Threx ordered. Sir, they gave us parking tickets. Very expensive parking tickets. And they're threatening to impound our battle mechs for illegal parking in a loading zone. That's not. That doesn't. Threx couldn't even finish the sentence. Just surrender with dignity. Sir, they're also offering us coffee. Should we accept? It smells really good. Threx terminated the connection and kept running. His armor was designed to withstand plasma fire and kinetic bombardment. It was not designed to handle this level of sustained humiliation. He found himself back at the university campus, gasping for breath. Students were already cleaning up, sweeping debris, chatting about the invasion like it was mildly inconvenient weather. Someone had set up a table offering free counseling for invasion-related stress. Nobody was using it. Mira Oswald emerged from the science building, now carrying a coffee and a pastry. She spotted him and waved casually. Still here? Wow, you've got persistence. Most invaders are gone by now. Threx collapsed against a wall, his armor's power reserves nearly depleted. How? How did you do this? We studied your world for months. You have no unified defense force. Your weapons are primitive. Your people can't even agree on basic facts. She took a sip of coffee. Yeah, that's true. We're kind of a mess, honestly. But here's the thing you didn't understand about humans, Commander. What? He asked weakly. We're really, really good at being stubborn. She gestured around at the campus. After the first invasion, we were scared. After the second, we were angry. After the third. She smiled. We were done. We got together, every nation, every scientist, every engineer, and we said screw this. No more invasions. No more disruptions. No more missing class because some alien empire decided Tuesday was a good day to conquer Earth. But the technology required. Threx protested. The atmospheric nanobots, the automated defenses, the AI coordination systems. That would take decades to develop. It took 18 months, Mira corrected. Turns out humans are extremely motivated when we're annoyed enough. We invented the internet in like 20 years. We went from first flight to moon landing in 66 years. We created vaccines in under a year when we needed to. When we actually focus and work together. She leaned down, looking him directly in his 4 eyes. We're terrifying. Threx's tactical computer finally found an extraction point. A small Valkyr scout ship, hidden in the mountains outside the city, still operational. If he could reach it. You're thinking about running, Mira observed. Your left eye does this twitchy thing when you're planning something. I must return to my people, Threx said, trying to salvage some dignity. I must warn the Empire. Earth is not what we expected. Yeah, about that. Mira pulled out her phone, tapped a few times. We've already sent a message to your homeworld. Actually, we sent messages to every hostile species in this sector. Want to hear it? She turned her phone around. A video played, showing Earth's leaders standing together in what appeared to be the repaired United Nations building. The Secretary General, a small woman with steel in her voice, spoke directly to the camera. To all who would invade Earth. We are done being your target practice. We are done being underestimated. This is your only warning. The next species that attempts to invade our world will not be repelled. They will be visited. We will come to your homeworld. We will park our ships in your orbit. And we will be incredibly passive-aggressive about it until you agree to leave us alone forever. The video ended. Threx stared at the blank screen. You're bluffing, he whispered. You don't have interstellar capability. We didn't, Mira agreed. But remember those 7 ships you brought? We're keeping them. Thanks for the upgrade, by the way. Our engineers are really excited. They're already reverse engineering the faster-than-light drives. She paused. Also, we're keeping your soldiers. Don't worry, we'll treat them well. We're not monsters. They'll get 3 meals a day, comfortable cells, and mandatory cultural sensitivity training. Cultural sensitivity training? Frex repeated weakly. Yeah, it's this thing we do. Couple months of lectures about respecting other civilizations, not invading people, basic diplomacy. Really boring stuff. Most species sign peace treaties just to get out of it early. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Not emergency sirens. Ice cream truck sirens. Because of course this planet had mobile frozen dessert vendors who operated during invasions. Frex made his decision. He activated his armor's emergency beacon, the one that would signal any remaining Valkyr forces to retreat immediately and permanently. Then he removed his helmet, looking at Mira with all four eyes uncovered. I have conquered 17 worlds, he said quietly. I have led fleets into battle against the fiercest warriors in the galaxy. I have stared down extinction and laughed. He paused. But I have never encountered anything like you humans. You're not warriors. You're not even particularly advanced. But you're petty. Mira suggested. Stubborn. Absolutely done with everyone's nonsense. Terrifying, Frex finished. You're absolutely terrifying. Not because of your weapons or your defenses. But because you simply refuse to accept that you should lose. Logic says you should have been conquered ages ago. The numbers don't lie. But somehow, impossibly, you just don't care about the numbers. Mira shrugged. Math is important, Commander. But so is spite. And coffee. And not missing lectures. She checked her phone again. Speaking of which, I've got a study group in 20 minutes. Are you going to need an escort off planet, or can you find your own way? I'll manage, Frex said. He replaced his helmet, began walking toward the mountains. Then he stopped, turned back. Mira Oswald. May I ask you one final question? Sure. Why did you even come to class today? You could have stayed home. Been safe. Why risk it? She considered this, sipping her coffee. Because if I let you make me miss class, then you win. Not the invasion. Not the battle. But you win by making me change my life. By making me scared. By making me give up the things that matter. She smiled. And I really, really hate losing. Frex nodded slowly. Your professor gave you extra homework, didn't she? So much homework, Mira confirmed sadly. Like, an unreasonable amount. This is your fault, you know. Despite everything, despite the humiliation and the defeat and the utter destruction of his invasion force, Frex laughed. It started as a chuckle, built into a full belly laugh that echoed across the campus. Students stared. Someone filmed it. I will tell the Empire, he said finally. Earth is forbidden. No Valkyr ship will ever approach this system again. You have my word. Cool. Hey, before you go, want a cookie? Campus Bakery makes these amazing chocolate chip ones. Consider it a parting gift. Frex accepted the cookie, tucked it into his armor's storage compartment. Thank you. I think. He walked away, leaving Mira standing in the quad, surrounded by students and smoking rubble and the absolute normalcy of a campus that had been invaded and had already moved on. She finished her coffee, tossed the cup in a recycling bin that had somehow survived the battle, and headed to the library. Her study group was waiting. They had quantum mechanics to master. They had midterms to stress about. They had homework to complain about. They had normal life to get back to. And absolutely nothing, not invading alien empires or falling warships or apocalyptic battles, was going to get in the way of that. Because they were human. And humans, Mira reflected as she climbed the library steps, were simply too stubborn to be conquered. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jake, did you get notes from the part we missed during the explosion? She typed back, got them. See you in 5. Above the city, the last Valkyr ship disappeared into the atmosphere, retreating into space. On Earth, life continued. Professor Hartley's quantum mechanics class met again on Thursday. Mira Oswald wasn't late.